Most people think Stoicism is about suppressing emotions or pretending nothing hurts. But that's not true. Stoicism is not emotional numbness, it's emotional mastery. It's about understanding your mind so deeply that no chaos outside can disturb the peace within. What's truly fascinating is that the Stoics, philosophers who lived thousands of years ago, already understood many psychological truths that modern science is only beginning to confirm. Today, we'll explore 7 hidden psychological secrets that Stoics knew centuries ago, and how they can completely change the way you think, feel, and live. Let's begin. 1. You don't control events, only your reaction. This is one of the core Stoic truths, and also one of the hardest to accept. You cannot control what happens around you. You can't control people, outcomes, or the chaos of life, but what you can control is your response. Modern psychology calls this locus of control. People who focus on what they can control, their actions, mindset, and choices, tend to experience far less stress and anxiety. People who focus on what they can't control, like others' opinions or fate, often live in frustration. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Is greater than, you have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about it. When something goes wrong, your first reaction is emotional, but a Stoic pauses, breathes, and then chooses the best response. That moment of pause, that's where your freedom lies. In modern terms, this is cognitive reframing, a technique used by therapists to change how we perceive an event. The Stoics already practiced it 2,000 years ago. When you shift your energy from control to acceptance, your peace multiplies. You stop trying to control the waves, and instead, you learn to surf them. 2. The mind creates suffering, not reality. Here's a secret even neuroscience now agrees with. Your brain doesn't respond to reality, it responds to your interpretation of it. Epictetus said it perfectly, "Is greater than, it's not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." Let that sink in. It's not the breakup, the loss, or the failure that hurts the most, it's the story your mind builds around it. It shouldn't have happened. I'll never recover. I'm not good enough. That inner dialogue is what turns pain into suffering. Modern psychology calls this catastrophizing, the tendency to imagine the worst-case scenario. But Stoics had already mastered the antidote, rational reflection. Whenever something bad happens, a Stoic asks, "What's truly under my control here? What's the worst that could realistically happen? Will this still matter a year from now?" This doesn't remove pain, but it removes unnecessary pain. And that's the key difference. When your mind becomes calmer, you start seeing reality for what it is, not worse than it is. And that's when true peace begins. 3. Discomfort is the path to growth. We live in an age of comfort, soft beds, fast food, instant pleasure. But here's what the Stoics knew. Comfort weakens the mind. Discomfort sharpens it. Seneca once said, "Is greater than, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." With that clause together, every time you avoid discomfort, you train your mind to run from growth. But when you face discomfort, physical, emotional, or mental, with calmness, you train your mind to adapt. Today, psychologists call this exposure therapy, slowly facing discomfort to build resilience. The Stoics did it through practice. They slept on the floor sometimes, wore simple clothes, and reminded themselves that they could live with less. Why? To remember that happiness doesn't depend on comfort, it depends on character. The next time you feel uncomfortable in rejection, in failure, or in loneliness, remind yourself, this isn't punishment, it's training. Pain refines you, loss matures you, and struggle, when faced with courage, builds the kind of strength comfort never could. That's the Stoic secret. The obstacle is the way. 4. Silence is more powerful than reaction. In a world addicted to overreaction, silence is a superpower. Marcus Aurelius and Seneca both wrote that wise men speak less, not because they are weak, but because they've learned that most words are born from impulse, not wisdom. When someone insults you, your mind immediately wants to defend itself. When someone hurts you, you want to strike back. But the Stoic knows, reacting gives them power. Remaining calm takes it back. Modern psychology agrees emotional regulation is one of the highest forms of intelligence. Your ability to pause before you react determines how much control you truly have over yourself. Imagine this. You're in an argument. The other person shouts, blames, provokes, but you don't shout back. You simply breathe and choose your words with calm precision. That silence, that unshakable composure, makes people realize something powerful. You're not ruled by emotions anymore. You're ruled by reason. In modern society, where everyone wants the last word, being silent is rare, and rarity creates power. That's why Stoics practice stillness, not just outer silence, but inner silence. Because once the noise in your mind quiets down, clarity takes over. 5. Most people chase pleasure. Stoics chose meaning. The Stoics understood something that modern psychology is just beginning to rediscover. Pleasure doesn't create happiness, purpose does. Our culture teaches us that the goal is comfort, money, and constant stimulation. But what happens when you finally get it all? The mind gets bored. Because pleasure fades, meaning doesn't. Epictetus once said, "Is greater than, no man is free who is not master of himself." The Stoics didn't chase dopamine. They chased discipline. They didn't ask, what will make me feel good right now? They asked, what will make me proud a year from now? When you begin to live with meaning, not comfort, your life takes on a quiet intensity. You no longer need constant validation. You stop scrolling, stop comparing, stop rushing. Instead, you start building. You build habits, resilience, relationships, and a mind that doesn't collapse under pressure. That's the difference between living as a consumer and living as a creator. Pleasure consumes you. Purpose transforms you. 6. The enemy is always within. The Stoics didn't waste time blaming the world. They looked inward because they knew that the real enemy isn't life's challenges. It's the undisciplined mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Is greater than, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In modern psychology, this is called self-schema. Your mind builds an identity from the thoughts you repeat. If you keep saying, "I'm not enough," your brain believes it. If you keep saying, "I can handle this," your brain starts to become that strength. The Stoics practiced daily self-examination. Every night they reflected, what did I do well? What did I fail to control? What can I do better tomorrow? That quiet reflection was their therapy. Because when you stop running from your own mind and start observing it, everything changes. You begin to see that anger, jealousy, laziness all come from within. And since they come from within, they can also be removed from within. Modern life wants us to find someone to blame: the system, our past, our parents. But the Stoic looks in the mirror and says, if I can master myself, no one can defeat me. That's power. 7. Death is not to be feared, it's to be remembered. One of the deepest Stoic practices was memento mori. Remember, you must die. It sounds dark, but it's actually liberating. Because when you remember that life is short, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter. Modern society avoids the topic of death. We distract ourselves to forget it. But the Stoics faced it directly, because they knew, when you face death, you learn how to truly live. Every moment becomes sharper. Every sunrise feels like a gift. Every word you say to someone might be the last, so you say it with care. Seneca wrote, "Is greater than, it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." When you keep death in mind, you stop delaying your life. You stop saying someday. You start saying today, because every breath you take is one less in your account. And that's not something to fear, it's something to honor. The Stoics didn't have technology, or self-help books, or podcasts. They just had the human mind, raw and restless, the same as ours. And somehow, they mastered it. They discovered that peace doesn't come from controlling the world, it comes from controlling the self. That strength doesn't come from dominance, it comes from discipline. And that freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want, it comes from wanting only what truly matters. So maybe the Stoics weren't ancient at all. Maybe they were just timeless. And maybe it's time we remember what they never forgot. The mind, once mastered, can turn any storm into silence. Be strong, but stay kind. Be silent, but stay aware. And above all, master yourself.